Hey guys, it's the Tominator. So, as I'm sure many of you have heard by now, Patrick Moore won the Cali Pro this weekend. He also won back in 2019, so this show has been very kind to him. It sort of reminds me of Michael Lockett with the Chicago Pro. He's won that show numerous times. It's like, for whatever reason, certain cities or venues just seem to click for certain athletes. Anyway, let's take a look at this top four and go through the mandatory poses. So from left to right, you've got Hassan Mostafa, Mohamed Shaaban, Patrick Moore, and Mohamed El Emam. And I have Patrick winning this pose pretty easily. He's got the most detail and by far the best aesthetics, excellent bicep separation, and a really good midsection. Could his quads be better? Sure, they still need to come up, but he looks really full here, and that's helping to offset his lack of thickness compared to the other guys. His thighs are still the weakest of this top four, but he does have a nice balance between the quads and calves, which you can't say for Shaaban standing next to him there in the middle. I like this guy's upper body a lot. He's arguably beating Patrick in this pose, but I wouldn't say so because Moore has the cleaner lines, the more symmetrical lats, and a tighter midsection. Plus, Shaaban's legs are so unbalanced. The quads are big and grainy, but the calves are just pitiful. I know it's not a major factor in modern day judging, but we have to draw the lines somewhere, right? You don't need to have Flex Lewis or Dorian Yates type of calves, but at least make it respectable. That said, I'd still have him as number 2 because these guys on the outside just aren't sharp enough. Alright, in the front lat spread, we have to use the MPC News Online pictures, which really suck and are way too dark, because I couldn't find certain poses anywhere else. It's weird because the individual photos they took look great, but these comparison pics are so dark and blurry, it's hard to judge this. But anyway, Patrick looks the best here once again. His polish was on another level, and with that tiny waist and wide shoulders, his V-taper looks tremendous. He definitely made some improvements to his back because I don't recall him filling out this shot so well in the past. It might also just be a flattering angle though. After that, I don't know, Hassan looks pretty good, but I think he's being given a bit of an unfair advantage since he's closest to the camera, and this makes him look even larger. As if Hassan was ever lacking for size. He's the most muscular guy on that stage already. Shaaban might actually be winning this, but it's tough to tell from this look. Here's a second pick with just the 3 of them. Not exactly a top 3 because Hassan is absent, but whatever, it gives us a closer look at least. And now, Shaaban looks closer to Patrick than he did a moment ago. Still, I'm giving this to Moore, but not by much. You do gotta love all the details he's packing though, like the striated pecs and the separated forearms. That helps set him apart a bit. Mohamed El Emam there on the right was way too smooth. He was a distant 4th to my eyes, and was probably even lucky to place that high. He's been fading every show since his 2nd place finish at the Indy Pro a few weeks ago. Onto the side chest. Okay, this one goes to Hassan, in my opinion. I know there were times when his midsection looked horribly distended, he wasn't controlling it, like if you watch his individual routine, but here in this comparison pic, he looks terrific. Super thick, dense, round, and well-proportioned muscle. He's just overwhelming Patrick in key areas like the pecs, arms, and hamstrings. Patrick looks chiseled and highly aesthetic, we all know that, and he is more conditioned than Hassan, but his physique is still too thin and small from the side. Here's a second look that confirms that Patrick is no lower than 2nd in this pose. He looks much harder than the other 2, and he's not that far off in terms of size, at least based on this photo. It could just be a poorly timed pic, but it looks like El Emam has almost no hamstrings at all right now. This was simply not a good showing for him. He was way off the mark. Turning around, this is where things get interesting, because in terms of the overall back thickness, Patrick is lagging behind pretty badly. So, while he did manage to bring up his lats, and you can see that in his width, he still needs to do some work to add more thickness. That said, the glutes are striated, the lower back is dry, and the arms have among the best details and separation in this callout. If Hassan Mostafa was only a little crisper, he'd be winning this one handily. But those glutes are just too soft, so the subpar lower body conditioning holds him back. Shaaban was probably the most peeled guy in the lineup, but I'm not crazy about him in this pick. Those lats look really high, they just sort of end abruptly midway down his back, and he doesn't have the taper of a Patrick Moore. He might not be fully locked in though, so let's take another look. And yeah, this is a better look, but he still doesn't have the details to match Patrick. His lower body may be slightly better, but Patrick looks sharper through the back, shoulders, and arms. In fact, I'd even put Mohamed El Emam ahead of Shaaban right now. Again, it could just be the camera angle, but El Emam looks drier here from the back than he did from the front or side. And that back is definitely a step up from Shaaban's, I would say. But overall, I'm still giving this to Patrick. The rear lat spread also goes to Patrick Moore. It's actually pretty surprising, because usually the back poses tend to go to the guys who are, the more denser or more muscular bodybuilders. But Patrick is showing the best V-taper here, hands down. And he's lean enough to still display some good details through the traps and glutes as well. Again, I think Hassan could and should be winning this. His back is like twice as thick as Patrick's and basically the same width. But you can note those wrinkles there above his posing trunks and the softness of his glute ham tie-in. This signifies he missed the mark on the conditioning front, and it causes him to lose the shot. With the side tricep, thank God we're back to these brighter picks, but Patrick Moore cleans up here too. I've always admired his statuesque execution on this one, and this may just be his all-time best side triceps to date. His twisting posing with the flexed abs and the defined tricep horseshoe make him appear just as large as any of these objectively heavier, more muscular bodybuilders. Hassan Mostafa and Mohamed Shaaban both look kind of closed off. I get what they were going for, turning to the front to bring the quadriceps more into play, but it doesn't really work that well. I've seen Hassan hit this in the more conventional fashion from the side, and it looks much better. I mean, take your pick for second here, because Patrick's got it in the bag. The ab and thigh also goes to you-know-who. I'm getting tired of saying his name at this point, but chalk up another win for Patrick Moore. The best midsection by a mile. Okay, Hassan's abs and obliques look great also, but his waist is a little blocky and bloated, whereas Patrick's is much tighter and smaller. I'm also digging the lat flare Moore is showing here from the front, and it's complemented pretty nicely by all that sharp serratus development. Does the lower body still leave something to be desired? Yes, you betcha. But it's not like he's getting blown out of the water in this lineup. It's honestly not a size issue so much as a separation issue, I think. Like, if he had deep cuts running up and down his thighs, that would give the illusion of greater mass. Some more thickness down by the knee would go a long way also. After that, I'd probably go with Shaaban. He likewise needs more separation in the legs, and even in the abs for that matter, but structurally, I prefer him over Hassan, who looks a little narrow up top and again, too smooth through the quads. El Emam, as with basically every other pose, is last. His stomach is bloated and not even lean enough to see visible abs. He looks almost out of focus here compared to Patrick because the conditioning and separation just isn't there. And finally, we come to the most muscular, where I will extend an olive branch to anybody saying Mohamed Shaaban deserved to win this contest, because I think he edges Patrick out here on mass alone. Patrick is still more separated and detailed, but the thickness through Shaaban's arms, delts, pecs, quads, even the traps can't be denied. Even El Emam over there looks pretty impressive right now with those split pecs, the wide shoulders, and legs that are finally coming to life a bit. Of these four, I'm probably least impressed with Hassan. He's thick as hell, but is structurally the smallest, so without really crisp separation and striations and all the rest, his physique just doesn't do enough to draw the eye. He still looks great in his own right, though, don't get me wrong. Those muscle bellies are pretty exceptional. So yeah, that is what I would call a pretty convincing victory for Patrick Moore. He took almost every single pose, with the exception of the side chest and possibly the most muscular. I'm sure things might have looked different depending on which photos or videos you happen to be viewing, but that's the way I saw it here. And with that win, he is now qualified for the 2021 Mr. Olympia, and I really hope he competes. It'll be interesting to see if he can crack the top 10 again, in what should be a considerably deeper lineup than when he accomplished that feat back in 2019. Anyway, guys, what's your take on this one? Would you say that Patrick Moore deserved it, or are you in the camp of Mohamed Shaaban? I'd be curious to hear the arguments for Shaaban because, personally, I don't quite see it. But thank you for watching, and as always, it's the Tominator signing off, and I'll be back.